Cain is angry. His face has fallen, and God comes to him. Don't miss that. Before Cain murders Abel, God speaks. Before the tragedy, there is a warning. Before judgment, there is mercy. God tells Cain that if he does what is right, he will be accepted. But then comes the terrifying picture. Sin is crouching at the door, crouching like a predator, waiting for the right moment to attack. And God tells Cain that sin desires to have him, but he must rule over it. Cain is standing at the doorway. On one side is obedience, and on the other side is destruction. And God warns him before he ever crosses the threshold. That is grace. We sometimes think grace is only God forgiving us after we fall, but sometimes grace is God screaming, "Don't take another step." Joseph experienced that doorway when he was with Potiphar's wife and she tempted him. David stood at that doorway when he saw Bathsheba. Judas stood there before betraying Jesus, and Peter stood there before denying him. And every one of us has stood at that door as well. That moment when you know, I shouldn't send this, I shouldn't click this, I shouldn't say this, I shouldn't go there, I shouldn't entertain this thought. And something inside you whispers, stop. Grace doesn't only meet you after you fall. Sometimes grace is the voice warning you before you step over the edge. Cain heard the warning and he ignored it. He talked to Abel about what God told him. Then as they were alone in the field, what began as jealousy in the heart became murder with the hands. That's how sin works. It rarely begins with catastrophe. It begins with permission, one thought, one compromise, one excuse. James tells us desire conceives and gives birth to sin, and sin, when fully grown, produces death. Genesis 4 shows us that truth thousands of years earlier. Cain didn't master what was crouching at the door. He fed it. And eventually what he refused to master mastered him. But this is where the gospel becomes so powerful. Jesus did what Cain could not. When temptation came, Christ answered with truth. When Satan offered compromise, Jesus chose obedience. Where the first human surrendered to temptation, Christ overcame it. And through Christ, sin no longer has to be your master. So when sin crouches at your door, don't pet it. Don't negotiate with it. Don't feed it. Shut the door. Flee. Because on the other side of Cain's door, blood is about to cry out from the ground.